Okay, thank you. I want to welcome you all here today to the Longmeadow Adult Center. We're very happy to have Rich Locke. He is the food service director at Redstone Rehab, and he is going to give us some tips on cooking and healthy eating, and I'll turn it over to Rich.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. As she just said, my name is Richard Locke. I'm the food service director at Redstone Rehab. I've been there a little under 2 years now. I've been in food service for about 15 years, and I've worked in a variety of different food service establishments, from restaurants to the nursing home, to a variety of nursing homes, actually. And one of the things that I've learned and kind of focused on since I've been in long-term care is healthier eating, and healthier choices, and without compromising flavor, and kind of exploring ingredients maybe in typical restaurants you may not be accustomed to or using at home. And so trying to incorporate some of those ingredients so you don't compromise that flavor, but you gain the benefits of healthier eating. Today I chose roasted shrimp and vegetable orzo salad. Those of you who don't know what orzo is a pasta. It looks like rice, but it's actually a pasta. So the method of cooking is pretty much the same. You just need to be a little bit more attentive to it. It has some qualities to it that are a little bit more challenging from regular pasta. Because it's more of a smaller grain of pasta. And like I said, it looks like shrimp, or looks like rice. It will stick a little bit more than rice would or regular pasta. So to stir it consistently, you want it to be like an al dente. You want it to have a little bit of bite to it. You don't want it to get mushy. It can get mushy just like regular pasta, and then you're probably not going to be as pleased with it as you would if it was more on the al dente side. The recipe that we're doing today is very much a flexible type of recipe. I've never been a person who likes to stick to every recipe as it's written. Sometimes when it comes to, obviously when you're working with baking is more of a science, and you have to kind of stick to the recipe or else it's not going to come out right. When it comes to regular cooking and you're making entrees, be creative with it. If there are things that you like to see in the recipe, add those things into the recipe. If there's things that you like to take them out. This is a vegetable orzo and roasted shrimp salad. You can add whatever vegetables that you like. Some people like peppers, some people don't like peppers. Some people like cucumbers, some people don't like cucumbers. You could add radishes. You could add anything that you would normally add to a salad, maybe outside of the lettuce. You could add in this tomatoes, like little cherry tomatoes, quartered. So there's a lot of flexibility in a recipe like this, and I always encourage people to take as much liberty as they want to and be adventurous, because that's you're gonna come up with something that you've never had before, and the people you're serving have never had before either, and that's fun, and it keeps things new.
Remember how you did it. When someone says,
You gotta write everything down. You gotta write it down. Yeah, and what I would encourage you to do is we'll pass out recipes at the end, and when you're done, when you go to make this recipe, add some things in it that you like to see, and write them down on the recipe. So when somebody does ask you, what was in this, you can tell them. Or maybe you won't want to tell them. Maybe you want to keep it a secret.
no, I share.
So the first thing that I do when I'm making this recipe, I always cook off the orzo. That way you have time to chill it, get it down so it's salad temperature, which, below 40 degrees. And then what you do is you start roasting off your shrimp, cutting up your vegetables. You can cut the vegetables up, first if you'd like. I prepared a lot of the stuff ahead of time. That way you have less work when you go to put it together. This is one of those recipes that the next day if after it's sat in the refrigerator a little bit, and it's better because it's got a chance to sit in the vinaigrette, in the different flavors and the herbs and stuff that you add to it. That it's only enhanced the flavor, you know. So you know, make enough so you have a couple of days of leftovers. It's great for bringing, you know, if you're going out and you're going to be out and you need to bring a quick lunch, you just, you know, take a couple scoops with you. You've got your shrimp, you've got your vegetables, and you've got your, it's perfect. It's a perfect on-the-go meal. So the first thing I'd like to do is, I've got the water pretty much at a boil. We're going to put the orzo in there. And like I said, we're going to consistently stir it to make sure it doesn't stick together. And also so we can keep an eye on how well done it is. We don't, like I said, we don't want to overcook it. We want to make sure that it has a little bit of a bite to it, almost like you would, like, you know, with a pasta. You know, you don't want to overcook it. You know, everybody has a preference as to how they like their pasta cooked.
How long does it take to cook? Approximately.
Yeah, I would say probably about 15 to 20 minutes.
I never used it.
Yeah.
I cook a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, depending on how much you're cooking and how big the pot is and stuff like that. But you bring the water to the boil, and then you just consistently stir it. And then what I do is I take a little bit out and I'll taste it just to see how well done it is and if I need to do it a little bit more. It's hard to look at it and just tell by looking at it. But after you've made it a few times, you can adjust it, your cooking times. Another thing with orzo is used a lot in as by itself, like you would a rice or a pasta. So you could add cook it, get it to temperature, drain it off, add a little butter, a little Parmesan cheese, a little, you know, and maybe some diced mushrooms, and then it's a great side dish too. So orzo is very flexible, and a lot of people don't use it. Like you were just saying, it's not something that a lot. Perfect. That's what I like to hear. So I mean, you could have it as a side dish to almost any meal. Yes.
Sometimes we make rice pilaf, and sometimes instead of noodles that we brown in the butter, we use orzo.
Orzo, perfect. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll find in a lot of restaurants they use orzo too as an ingredient in rice pilaf, because you could brown it off and get that nutty flavor that you expect out of like a
Also,
rice.
it's very good when you need have a soup and it appears to be a little thin.
Soups.
Throw in a hand of orzo and you're all set.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, orzo is a good option for supplementing rice, because sometimes we get, you know, rice is the first thing that comes to mind when we think of adding things to soups. You know, so I mean, orzo is a good option. It's something a little bit different. It's going to give a little bit of a different taste to the recipe.
Especially if you have a tomato base.
Yeah, absolutely. And even a cream-based soup, you know, and maybe, you know, if you're making a certain type of soup that doesn't have a lot of water in it, that it's not going to absorb into the orzo, you can maybe par-cook the orzo and then finish it off in the soup. A lot of times you'll notice in restaurants, you'll get a bowl of soup and the noodles will be all swollen up and it looks like they've been sitting in the broth a long time. That's because they cooked the noodles in with the soup and then they sat there until somebody ordered it and then they scooped it out. What some restaurants do is they'll keep the pasta separate until they're serving the soup. That way the pasta is exactly the way you want it when you're serving it.
I started doing that. My daughter said, "Ma, cook it separate, your pasta." And you know, it works.
Absolutely.
I don't, and the next day, I still get the bowl in the refrigerator, and I got my soup.
Exactly. So it works, and you just keep it separately, and you throw it into whatever you're going to serve it with, either a soup or a side dish or whatever, and you just warm it. You're heating it up at that point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take our pan for our shrimp. And I'm just going to put the shrimp, and I already par-cooked these shrimp, so we don't need to even heat them that long. We're just going to warm them up a little bit.
I'm sorry,
Yep. No, actually, you know what? That's why I made sure that I put on the recipe that it's roasted shrimp. Anytime, one of the things that I've learned is that if you can roast something opposed to boil it, it's always a good option. Boiling things, you're just removing flavor, and then you dump the flavor down the drain. So if you can roast something off, whether it be vegetables or shrimp or anything like that. Yeah, a little bit of olive oil. I'm using actually just a regular soybean oil, but olive oil is great. I mean, olive oil is going to add the flavor. It's going to also add a lot of good nutrients. You're using such a minor amount in this, so it's not going to make a huge difference. But absolutely, I mean, steaming is another good option because you're not really removing the flavor. You're just cooking it in the steam. But I always prefer roasting over anything because you're going to add flavor without having to add a lot of unhealthy ingredients on top of it. So it definitely is a good option. So I'm just going to add a dab of olive oil or any oil really, but olive oil is a good option.
So you said you parboiled them.
No, just par roasted them. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He did say roasted.
Did I say roast?
Yeah,
Good.
I misunderstood. Did you put it
I don't
in
want
the
to
oven?
confuse anybody. What's that?
You put it in the oven at what degree?
Like 350 to 375, and you're just cooking them to done.
About 5 minutes?
5 to 10 minutes, depending on every oven varies. So you definitely want to make. I mean, some people have convection ovens; those cook very quickly. The ovens that I have at Redstone are very industrial ovens, so they cook very quickly. So you have to keep an eye on them. You don't want to overcook them because then they'll get dried out and very rubbery and stuff like that. So you definitely don't want to overcook them. So we're just going to put them in here for a minute. And like I said, we're just warming them up. And then what we could do is we could start cutting up some of our lemons. And this is another, I mean, the sauce that you're getting, or not even a sauce, but the dressing that you're going to dress the salad with, is going to be a citrus-based dressing instead of vinegar. If you want to use oranges, if you want something a little bit less acidic, or you can use grapefruits. I mean, you could use just about whatever type of citrus you want, really. But the citrus is going to add a very fresh flavor to it and kind of give you that taste that you're looking for in the summertime. Something refreshing, something very fresh tasting. So we're going to do that. We're going to cut up our citrus. I've got some regular oranges here. And I've got some lemons. So today we're going to use a little bit of both. Some of the other ingredients that are in this that I haven't mentioned yet, besides the vegetables, or even considering some of the vegetables, is green onion, scallions, fresh dill is in it, some fresh parsley, yep, some diced red and green bell peppers, you know. And like I said before, I mean, take the liberties that you want and omit some ingredients or add some different things in. Feta cheese is one of the things that's in it. Maybe you like a mozzarella. You could maybe cube up some buffalo mozzarella and put that in it. I think, you know, feta offers a nice, you know, strong taste and a little bit of saltiness. It adds that saltiness component to it.
When you put feta in, that makes the dressing creamy.
A little bit, not as much. It's more tossed in the end than it is mixed into the dressing. So you get a little bite of it here or there, and it adds a little.
But it does release a little creaminess.
Yes,
to the
yes.
dressing, which the mozzarella does not.
Yeah. So you know you're going to get different components based on, you know, what you add to it. You're going to get different outcomes. Yeah. Yeah. We're good. We're good. You know, you want to make sure you get rid of all the seeds from your citrus. Nobody wants to bite into a piece of seed, do they?
I don't know any housewives that squeeze their citrus like you do.
Oh, really? Well, there's a bunch of gadgets that you can use which are very helpful and will save your hands because, you know, depending on how fresh the lemons and citrus are, depends on how much juice you're going to get out of them. And sometimes, you know, you could be sitting there squeezing the life out of yourself before the life of the lemon gives up.
Do you ever roll your?
Yeah, you could absolutely roll it. Actually, rolling them and squeezing them when they're at room temperature you'll get a lot more out of them when they're cold. The fruit has a tendency to be a little firmer when it's cold, so you have to put a little bit more effort into it. But rolling it definitely helps. It helps loosen up the inner cells of the fruit to release that juice.
There's something on the market. We were at a restaurant and they brought the half a lemon for the and they had like a shower cap over it, but it was
It's gauze.
a gauze or
Yeah.
silk.
Cheesecloths. Yeah, yep.
It was really cute.
Yeah, no, and things like that can help. I've, seen some people, use the squeezer where you put the lemon in and you squeeze it down. I've seen people use juicers. I prefer this because it's less things to clean up. So if you could do it this way, it's much easier. I'm not really using anything that I wouldn't have had out anyways to prepare the rest of the dish. So I think that's probably enough time on our shrimp. Yeah, because we're just warming them through. We're not really cooking them. Okay, so let's check on our orzo. Looks like it's coming along. It actually looks about ready.
Yes, it's been 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Do you have a rolling boil? Is that what you do?
Yeah, it's a rolling boil. Yep, and you wait until it's boiling, just like you would pasta, to put the orzo in. And then just keep on checking it. Just, after a while, you'll know exactly. After you've done it a few times, you'll know exactly how long it needs to be in there, and then that way you can spend more time preparing everything else. Just be attentive to it because there's nothing more frustrating than when you overcook it and have to start fresh. So let's get rid of some of the seeds. What are some of the salads that you guys typically make at home? Chop chop salad, that's a good one. That's a great summertime salad.
What do you use for chop chopping? I mean, you just take a knife and chop.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those salads you could add. Fresh corn is a good one. You get some ears of sweet corn, and take the corn right off the cob, and you can toss that with any salad. You can put it in this. It's a great fresh taste. It reminds everybody of summer because that's when everybody loves the sweet corn on the cob. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start assembling the salad. I did cook off some shrimp and some orzo ahead of time. That way we don't have to be here all day and there's enough for everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some of the orzo and shrimp to the juice.
That's enough for me.
Okay. I thought this was going to be enough. No?
How much shrimp did you cook for all of them?
For this, 2 pounds. Yeah.
And how much or so?
I cooked, I think it was a 2-pound bag of orzo too. But you know, some of it is what I cooked over there. This has been chilled down, so I kind of brought this along with me. That way I didn't have to use what I had just cooked, because that way we won't have to sit here and wait for it to cool. Which is the only thing worse than waiting for it to cool is watching the water boil, waiting for the water to boil.
Did you put any spices in there?
Yup, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add, it's very simple. With the herbs and stuff, we're adding flat leaf parsley, we're adding chopped fresh dill, and then a little bit of salt and pepper, that's it. Everybody, you know, a lot of people think, you know, I'm watching my sodium, I wanna cut back. A lot of the people that are concerned about adding salt to recipes, a lot of that concern comes from decades of using too much salt. A lot of times it's a matter of bringing something back and using just enough to add the flavor that you're looking for. Garlic is a great thing to season things with. Garlic, onion, scallions, parsley, fresh herbs. I always encourage people to use that before they use salt. You know, salt should enhance the flavor. It shouldn't be the, you know, main thing. Your mouth shouldn't go on fire the minute you taste it. You know, so you definitely want to make sure you know, be very conservative when you're using salt. So I'm just tossing it in the lemon juice, in the citrus.
Will you be adding any oil to it in the end?
I'm going to add a little bit of oil to it, and that will help it from like sticking together. So, and it'll add a little bit of flavor and a little bit of a balance to the citrus. I'm going to add a little bit of scallions. I'm going to add a little bit of the diced pepper.
Nice.
Ah, with the whole thing in.
It's very colorful. It actually, yeah, it's very, very colorful recipe, you know. And what I tell people too is, you know, add a little bit at a time. You know, if you maybe you dice a little.
Zucchini street.
This is actually English cucumber, and I'm glad you asked. The good thing about English cucumber is we're used to a lot of the cucumbers in the grocery stores that typically are used for pickling. So we'll pick them up, and sometimes we get them and we get them home and they're filled with seeds, and the skin is about 2 inches thick, and you have to, it's like chewing through leather. English cucumbers are very long. They look like a zucchini. They have a very thin skin, so it's very digestible, and they have minimal seeds. So it's very easy to use. You don't have to peel it. You don't have to de-seed it. It's, you know, you just slice it up. It's got all the flavor that a regular cucumber has, and it's just a lot easier to use. So I encourage anybody that hasn't tried an English cucumber, definitely try it, because it's a nice option. They usually come shrink wrapped in plastic to protect them because they do have a thinner skin, so they bruise. Yeah, they bruise easier, and it's just more conducive to shipping and stuff like that when they're shipping them, to have them wrapped in plastic. Yeah.
If people have a vegetable garden, they grow very well here.
English cucumbers? That's
yes,
great to
they
know.
do.
That's great to know. Yeah. So you don't even have to buy them. You can grow them. And forget the plastic. You skip this step.
Yeah.
You don't have to use this plastic. So I'm just stirring the shrimp now with the orzo and all the vegetables. It looks pretty good. If you guys can take a look.
Oh my.
It's very pretty. So now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the herbs. Dill's one of those herbs that are very fresh, and
You can never have enough.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those that you don't have to be careful if it's going to overpower anything. It's just it really adds to almost anything that you could think to put it in, and salads are a big one. So we're going to stir that up. We're going to add a little bit of oil, not a lot, just a little bit. Maybe 1/8 of a cup for this whole batch. So maybe if you're making at home, you're doing on a smaller scale, you'll do like a couple tablespoons. You know, you could add, taste it if you think it needs a little bit more, or if you have it, some salad the next day and it seems a little dry, add a couple more tablespoons of olive oil or whatever you'd like. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if you want to squeeze another piece of fruit into it, like lemons, limes, oranges, whatever, feel free to do that as well. So just gonna toss this up a little bit. Yeah, it's very colorful, and that's it's a nice, you know, dish to make if you have people over, because it adds a lot of interest and wow factor to whatever you're serving. You know, even if you decided you didn't want, you're somebody that doesn't like shrimp, you could add roasted scallops. Is another thing that you could add to it. That's a good one.
Or rotisserie chicken cutlets.
Chicken, absolutely. Chicken is a great one. Chicken is very universal. So if you have somebody that can't have seafood, use the chicken. It's going to be just as colorful, you know, and you could add more vegetables and stuff like that to it too.
I know somebody who makes it with kielbasa.
Oh, wow. Now that's unique.
What is that? What is that?
This is the feta cheese.
Okay.
Yep. This is the feta cheese, and I'm using a whole container, but you probably wouldn't when you're at home because you would be making a lot less. Or maybe not. Maybe you're going to have a block party. I hope I'm invited. If you were. Don't forget
We
me.
just went to a surprise birthday party. There was a lot of people.
Yeah?
I made a big coleslaw, big cabbage, and I had one lady wanted my recipe.
Yeah. You hang on to that recipe.
I had carrot con oil and celery seed. It was from a restaurant, Maple Hill, in West Hartford.
Yep.
We worked part-time. Yeah. Nice
Yeah.
restaurant.
Hang on. I mean, when you, through your experiences of going over other people's houses or going to restaurants,
Yes.
you know, a lot of times I've gone to restaurants where I couldn't quite figure it out what was a particular ingredient in something. A lot of restaurants won't give up their secrets.
No.
So, but if you know what themed meal it is or what nationality it's based from, a lot of times you can go into markets that specialize in that nationality, an Asian food market or an Italian market or whatever, and tell them what dish you had, and they can be very helpful in letting you know what's typically in those dishes. You know, and resource it in that way. Yes?
Just a question, when you're boiling, your water for the pasta, I put oil in the water instead of salt.
Yep, you can add a little bit of, the salt is going to add a little bit of flavor to the pasta because whatever you put in the water is going to somewhat get absorbed into the pasta. So salt is more for flavor. There's a lot of debate as to whether oil adds anything to the pasta. Yeah, and that's why a lot of people do it. It's for not sticking. It's not going to really add any flavor. So if you're going to add a little oil to the water that you're boiling pasta in, I probably wouldn't use the good stuff, you know, because you're just going to add a little bit. I mean, you can, you know, but you don't have to. I don't think it's going to add enough to the pasta to really make a difference. If you're asking a question as far as oil that you use in making pasta, actually making it at home, I definitely would use better oil than not as, you know, cheaper oil. But if you're using it just for the non-stick properties of it, I would just use regular oil. Yeah, absolutely. So it looks good. I was worried. I'd never made this before.
No, I doubt it.
So now I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And like I said, I'm going to just, for this amount, it's probably going to look like we're using a lot, but we're really not. If you're at home, you're just going to add it to taste. Add a little bit, taste it, stir it up. Add a little bit more if you feel it needs it, but add it in increments. Don't add it all at once because once you've added it, you can't take it out. It's too late. So definitely add it in smaller increments.
Do you use sea salt or?
Sea salt is great. Kosher salt is good. You're going to get more of a mild flavor in those salts. which is going to be more appealing than something that's a little bit like a regular table salt or whatever. So I use at home, I've got like a nice sea salt, and it's a larger pellet, a larger grain. So you definitely want to make sure that you're taking that in consideration when you're dumping it in, because it could be stronger, it could be depends on the individual product that you're using. So now we're going to stir this in.
If you keep using sea salt, will you not lose out on all the iodine and regular salt?
You think so, you think?
Again, it would depend on the individual product. I don't know of any sea salt that's iodized, so you definitely want to have a balance, and maybe just leave the table salt on the table, and have people add that when they want it. Yeah, it's a great question.
Especially when you're cooking for seniors, the iodine should be in there,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. So it's about using balance. Maybe you use save the sea salt for the actual ingredient in the product in the recipe, and then use keep the table salt on the table for the people that want a little bit extra in there, but account for that. So maybe not put as much sea salt in it with anticipation that somebody's going to pick up that salt shaker and use that. So that's definitely a good question. So keep that in mind as well. So. Yes.
Sir, with 2 pounds of shrimp and 2 pounds of orzo, how many people will that serve? I'm trying to get, when I have a picnic, I want to.
You could probably get a good, depending on if you're serving it as a main course, you're probably talking maybe 10 to 12 people as a main course, depending on how heavy of eaters they are. If it's more of a side dish or part of something else, you could get as many as 25 people out of that.
And when you roasted your shrimp, did you put any dill or seasoning on that?
Salt, pepper, oil. Yeah. Because what you're doing by roasting it is you're bringing out the flavor of the shrimp. You don't want to cover the shrimp up or mask them with garlic and stuff like that, because you want to keep the recipe light. With this type of thing, you want to keep it more about the fresh ingredients that are in it and less about all the dried herbs and seasonings. So salt and pepper, a little bit of oil. Toss it in that, roast them off in the oven. Minus the tails, because then you don't have to worry about people, digging through it and having to pick the tails off, whatever. So you want deveined in shelled shrimp, and then you just toss them in the olive oil in the little salt and pepper and roast it off. And like I said, with the recipes going around, take some flexibility in that. Add vegetables that you really like. Some people like fennel. Fennel is a great summertime vegetable. You could slice it up very thinly, add it. It gives a little bit of that licorice taste to the recipe. And some people like that, some people don't. That's something that I've started to use a lot of, is fennel, and you'll see that a lot in different recipes. So I think we're pretty much all set. I'm going to try it. That if I drop dead, just pick me up. Don't eat it then.
Did you put the parsley in?
Not yet, and I'll tell you why. What I use the parsley is more of a garnish on the top. So what I do is when I'm serving it, I'll pick the leaves of the parsley off, and a little bit of on each serving we'll get a few sprigs of a few leaves of the parsley right on top. It's more of a color thing than anything, because we already added the dill. Yeah, and so, but you can add it inside. It's only going to add color to it. But we have the green peppers and the cucumbers and everything and the dill, so we have a lot of green going on in there anyways. The parsley's more of that little bit of freshness on the top.
I do an orzo salad without anything on the meat side in it, and I use pesto. And that comes out really good with all the vegetables and
Yes.
pesto beside.
Pesto makes things beautiful. Pesto is a beautiful, pastas, any type of pasta really. A nice cold pasta salad tossed in some pesto, topped with a little grilled chicken or something, that's great. Okay, so I think that's it for the recipe. I mean, it tastes great. I'll let you guys be the judge for yourselves. I'm going to start dishing some of it up and let you try it.
Would you like me to pass it around?
Yeah, they're gonna come around, I think, and help pass some. Okay.
Cinderella. This year's compost and last year's compost. And last year's compost is a little light.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, my.
Sure.
Make small portions, please, because we had a buffet.
Ah,
That was exceptional today.
excellent. What'd you have?
We had everything.
Yeah? All right. Those are the best ones.
Chicken and
Big
beef and
buffet.
stuffed peppers
Wow.
and omelets.
You don't like it? I don't eat shrimp. Oh.
So I think that concludes our cooking demonstration for today.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for coming, and I hope to see you in the future. All right.
And we thank Rich Locke from Redstone Rehab for coming and sharing his expertise with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Where?